How's it going, my heaps? I'm here with the Smackdown results / highlights and review video. First time I've done this, at least for Smackdown. I've done it for a while now, but not for Smackdown. Now for this week's Smackdown, I don't have some gameplay to show you guys, but starting next week, I'll be posting up some gameplay or having some gameplay in the background while I give you guys the Smackdown review. So for this time, it's going to be the Smackdown font. Anyways, the show kicks off with Del Rio versus Damien Sandow in a pretty decent matchup. Lasted around 10 minutes or so. You had Del Rio pulling off a moonsault from the second rope. And also, Del Rio's first attempt at the cross armbreaker failed when Damien Sandow countered it into an Edge-o-matic. Actually, that's what Edge used to call the move when he did it. Anyways, towards the end, Damien Sandow went for his cross arm neck breaker, but Del Rio countered that into the cross arm breaker. Damien Sandow taps out, so Del Rio wins the matchup. And during the matchup, you had backstage Jack Swagger and Zeb Colter watching on a TV monitor. Oh yeah, and how can I forget, before the actual matchup, Damien Sandow, when he came out, he was trashing Del Rio, saying he has poor grammar and such. And Del Rio, Damien Sandow referred to the unwashed masses, and Del Rio said, "You want to talk about unwashed?" He said you should wash your mouth because it smells like caca. And then the match began, which Del Rio won, like I said. Anyways, afterwards, they show Kane backstage. He's sitting down, and then a garbage bag lands on his arm, whatever, and it's actually Daniel Bryan throwing it at him. Daniel Bryan then explains that they have a tag team match, a rematch with the Primetime players, and that the only reason why they won, or Kane beat Darren Young in that tag team matchup on Raw, was because Kane only had his arm tied behind his back while Daniel Bryan was blindfolded. Daniel Bryan then goes on to explain how hard it is to compete in a matchup while you're blindfolded. Kane anyways accepts, and Daniel Bryan looks shocked that I can't accept the challenge, and he tells Kane, "Why are you accepting it like that or whatever?" Kane says for two reasons. The first being that he'll get to prove tonight that he's better than Daniel Bryan, and that he won't need to see Daniel Bryan's ugly goat face since he's going to be blindfolded. And then Kane leaves and Daniel Bryan starts chanting, "No, no, no." After that, they have a 2 out of 3 falls match for the US Championship between Antonio Cesaro and The Miz. The first fall went to Antonio Cesaro when The Miz went for a roll-up. Antonio Cesaro kicked out. Right after he kicked out, he kicked The Miz in the gut, hit the neutralizer, went for the cover, and got the first fall. And then for the second fall, the second fall was during commercial break, and they showed it on the exclusive WWE app, which was kind of odd that they showed it on the commercial break, but I guess at the same time, they're promoting the WWE app. So The Miz actually locked on the figure 4, and Antonio Cesaro tapped out. So after that, they're 1-1. And then for a final fall, The Miz rolled up Antonio Cesaro, but Antonio Cesaro countered that into his own roll-up, and I believe he grabbed the tights and got the victory. So still US champion Antonio Cesaro. And then there's a backstage segment with Randy and Sheamus, where Randy is talking about, Sheamus tells Randy, "I hear you have a matchup with the Big Show," and Sheamus says, "Doesn't that make you a sitting duck to the Shield?" Randy says he can't really think about the Shield right now, he has to think about the Big Show. Sheamus says, "Well, the Shield is thinking the exact same thing, so, what do you say, I help you out, or have your back?" He says, "What do you think about this big Irishman having your back?" But then Sheamus is like, "But knowing you and how you're such a loner, you probably don't want that, or you're not interested." And Randy says, "Hold on, I didn't say I wasn't interested," and then he just says thanks and leaves. So I guess he accepts Sheamus's help. And then Jim Ross comes out for an interview with Jack Swagger and Zeb Colter. Pretty much every single time Jim Ross would ask Jack Swagger a question, Zeb Colter would take over and answer the question for him, and Jack Swagger would just say, "We the people." So eventually Jim Ross says, "This guy has brainwashed you," and him and Zeb Colter start going at it on the microphone, and then Jack Swagger starts bullying Jim Ross for, going at it with Zeb Colter. And before he does anything, Del Rio comes out, and Del Rio says, "You're not the solution, you're the problem, and Del Rio's gonna fix that problem." And that Jack Swagger's not a real American, but he's a real jackass. And that pretty much ends the promo. Del Rio's music hits, Jack Swagger gets out of the ring, and that's pretty much it. Afterwards, there's the tag team match, Daniel Bryan and Kane versus the Primetime Players. Daniel Bryan actually puts the blindfold on Kane and actually has a goatface on it, which Kane doesn't know of. Anyways, the match had some comedic, some comedy spots. Kane actually chokeslammed Darren Young again, but in the end, Kane had the referee and Daniel Bryan in the chokeslam position. He was about to chokeslam them, but then he realized it was the referee, and then to check if it was Daniel Bryan, he checked for the beard, then he grabbed the beard, so he realized it was Daniel Bryan, so he let him go, but then Titus O'Neil rolled up Daniel Bryan for the 1-2-3, so the Primetime Players win. After the match, Kane takes off the blindfold, and then he sees the goatface and gets mad, tells Daniel Bryan, "You think this is funny?" He then puts it on Daniel Bryan's face and then uppercuts him, and he then leaves. And then Matt Striker's backstage with Big Show. Big Show says, it's WrestleMania season, so it's time to make an impact, and he's going to be looking to make an impact when he chokeslams Randy Orton. I was expecting him maybe to say by knocking out Randy Orton, but guess he's going back to the chokeslam, or I don't know. Anyways, afterwards, it's Matt Striker again. This time, though, with Fandangoo, or Fandangoo. Yeah, I think it's Fandangoo. Anyways, he introduces Fandangoo. Fandangoo says, "No, you're not saying it right. You're supposed to say Fandangoo," something like that. And Matt Striker keeps saying it, but Fandangoo keeps saying it's not right. So Matt Striker skips it, and talks about how he's supposed to debut tonight. And Fandangoo says he's mastered the ballroom, or he's done everything he had to do there. And now he's gonna grace the ring, but he's not gonna debut tonight. He's going to debut when Matt Striker can say his name right. And then he says one more time, Fandangoo. And then for the main event, Randy versus Big Show. Towards the end, Randy hit the DDT, but actually this time not from in between the second and top rope. It was actually on the top rope. So Big Show was hanging from the top rope. Randy hits the DDT, and then the Shield's music hits. They come out. They surround the ring. But Sheamus actually comes out and gets in the ring with Randy, so it's Randy and Sheamus versus the Shield. Shield gets in the ring, and they fight it out. They've got the numbers game. Big Show's still down, but he's slowly getting up. And once he gets up, Roman Reigns actually accidentally bumps into the Big Show, so Big Show knocks out, hits the WMD on Roman Reigns, and then Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins are looking at the Big Show shocked. And they just run out the ring, grab Roman Reigns, and leave. And then Big Show chokeslams Randy Orton while Sheamus was busy looking at the Shield. Sheamus turns around, sees that Big Show chokeslam Randy. He then hits a Brogue kick on the Big Show, and eventually Randy gets up. And that is pretty much it for SmackDown. So what did I think about SmackDown? I thought it was a decent show. I was surprised to see a 2 out of 3 falls match on SmackDown. Especially for the United States Championship. I thought the tag team match with Kane, Daniel Bryan, and Primetime Players had its funny moments. Also, the interview with JR, that could lead to a potential tag team match with JR and Del Rio versus Jack Swagger and Colter on an episode of Raw or something like that. And, as far as the Shield and Sheamus and Randy, I think it's a good thing they kept the angle going on SmackDown. Barrett wasn't involved with Sheamus on SmackDown, as he has on Raw. And I thought it was interesting that the Big Show knocked out Roman Reigns. As far as, the show overall, though, it was, like I said, decent. I'd give it maybe a 6.5 out of 10. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this SmackDown review. Like I said, next time there's going to be some gameplay in the background, so it's not just going to be, some plain writing. And also, I wanted to say something. Oh yeah, tomorrow I'll be posting up some gameplay. I'll be either posting up an All-Stars online match or W13 online matchup. Actually, I think I'll put up a Facebook poll. So if you're on the fan page, make sure to visit the fan page, and I'll put up a poll asking you guys if you want to see an All-Stars online match or a W13 online matchup. With that said, I'm out, guys. See ya.